All right, today we're really diving into a deep dive
Okay.
to a world that
Good
demands a
choice.
lot more than, a firm handshake and a winning smile.
Right.
We're tackling Army Corporal interview prep.
Yeah, you're right. This isn't your average desk job application.
Yeah.
We're talking about a role where, leadership, quick thinking, handling pressure, it's all paramount.
Right, and that's where RoleCatcher comes in, right?
Yeah,
Their resources are like having a secret weapon kind of in your back pocket.
exactly. They've really analyzed what makes candidates stand out in these interviews, and they've packaged it up nicely in their guides.
Okay, so pressure is a given, but what should someone really hammer home when answering these interview questions?
Yeah.
What are the interviewers truly looking for?
So it really boils down to four core areas. Leadership, communication,
Yeah.
knowledge of military procedures, and then the ability to handle those pressure situations.
Right.
But it's not enough to just say you have these things. You
Right.
have to demonstrate them through your answers.
Show, don't tell.
Yes.
So how about we dive into some common interview questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, first up, a classic opener. Tell me about your military background. Seems straightforward, but I bet there are ways to really kind of knock this one out of the park.
You're absolutely right. I think this question is your chance to really make a strong first impression.
Yeah.
And the interviewer really wants to know how your experience aligns with the specific demands of being a corporal.
Okay.
So instead of just listing every single thing you've done since basic training, you really want to focus on your achievements.
Okay.
And those achievements that really relate to leadership, taking initiative, and again, handling those challenging situations.
So instead of saying like, I was responsible for maintaining equipment, you'd say.
You could say, I spearheaded a new maintenance protocol that reduced equipment failures by 15%, which significantly improved our unit's operational readiness.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like choosing the most impressive bullet points from your resume and then bringing them to life
Yes.
with a little bit more detail.
Precisely. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Because you can actually input the specific requirements of that corporal role that you're going for.
Wow.
And their system will analyze your answer and suggest ways to make it even more impactful based on what hiring managers are looking for.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal editor
Is.
for your interview responses.
Yeah.
Okay, let's up the ante with the next question.
Yeah.
How would you handle a subordinate not following orders?
Yeah.
This feels like a real test of leadership
Right.
skills.
It is. It absolutely is. Remember, the military demands discipline and adherence to orders,
Right.
but it's also about understanding the why behind an order.
Okay.
A good leader doesn't just bark commands. They make sure their team understands the bigger picture.
So how would you suggest approaching this question?
So the key is to provide a specific example of how you've handled a similar situation in the past.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to showcase your problem-solving skills.
Okay.
Did you identify a breakdown in communication?
Did you need to provide additional training or clarification?
Okay, so instead of saying, I would remind them of the importance of following orders, you'd say?
You might say, during a field exercise, I noticed a team member consistently lagging behind and not maintaining proper formation. Rather than simply reprimanding them, I pulled them aside, made sure they understood the tactical importance of our movements, and discovered they were struggling with some new equipment. I provided additional instruction and paired them with a more experienced team member, which immediately improved their performance and, more importantly, their understanding of the task at hand. That shows you're not just enforcing rules, you're invested in your team's understanding and development.
Exactly, and interviewers pick up on that they're looking for leaders who inspire, not just intimidate.
All right, let's move on to a question that I feel like gets to the heart of an Army Corporal's responsibilities.
Okay.
How would you ensure your team's safety during a mission? The stakes feel pretty high with this one.
They are, and rightfully so. The safety of your team should always be your top priority. When answering this question, you want to demonstrate a proactive and strategic mindset.
So it's not just about reacting to danger.
Right.
It's about anticipating it.
Think about the steps you would take before, during, and even after a mission to mitigate risks.
Okay.
Would you conduct a thorough risk assessment of the terrain and potential threats?
Right.
How would you communicate those risks to your team?
Right.
What contingency plans would you put in place?
It sounds like preparation and communication are crucial here.
They're absolutely essential. A strong answer might sound something like this. Before every mission, I would conduct a thorough risk assessment, taking into account the terrain, weather conditions, and any potential enemy activity. I would then relay that information to my team, ensuring they understand the risks involved and how to mitigate them. During the mission, I would maintain constant situational awareness, adapt to changing circumstances, and prioritize my team's safety above all else.
That approach shows a clear understanding of the importance of proactive planning, clear communication, but also demonstrates a commitment to your team's well-being,
Yes.
which I imagine is paramount in a leadership role.
You've hit the nail on the head. Remember, your answer is a window into your decision-making process and how you prioritize your team's safety when it matters most. It's interesting how much weight they put on, a candidate's ability to not just handle the pressure,
Yeah.
but to really thrive
Right.
in those high-stakes situations.
It makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Being an Army Corporal means making these critical decisions under pressure.
Right.
It's not a role for the faint of heart.
No.
Which actually reminds me, speaking of pressure, the next question on our list is, how do you deal with stressful situations? What's the best way to tackle this one?
This question is your chance to really showcase your resilience, your composure. Don't just say, I work well under pressure. Everyone says that.
Right.
Instead, think back to a specific experience where you faced a challenging situation head on. What was the context? What actions did you take?
Right.
What was the outcome?
Right.
And most importantly, what did you learn from that experience?
So, for example, instead of saying, I stay calm and focused, you might say.
You could say something like, during a training exercise, our communication systems went down unexpectedly. I quickly took charge, established alternative communication methods using hand signals and runners, and ensured that everyone remained calm and focused on the objective despite that added pressure. We successfully completed the mission, and I learned the importance of adaptability and clear communication, even in those chaotic situations.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It highlights your ability to not just cope with stress, but to really lead effectively under pressure.
Right.
It also demonstrates adaptability and quick thinking, which are definitely quality I'd want in a leader.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on, let's talk motivation.
Okay.
Question 5 asks, how would you motivate a demotivated team? That feels like a challenge every leader faces at some point.
Absolutely. And it's a question that reveals a lot about your leadership style.
Okay.
Remember, motivation is not a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
What inspires one person might not resonate with another.
Right.
So the key here is to demonstrate your ability to understand the individual needs of your team
Yeah.
and tailor your approach accordingly.
So it's not about like giving a rousing speech.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the root of the issue.
Precisely. Maybe the team is feeling overworked, maybe they're lacking clear direction, or perhaps they're just simply burned out.
Right.
Your answer should demonstrate your ability to identify the underlying cause of that low morale,
Right.
and then take specific steps to address it.
Okay, so instead of saying, I'd give everyone a pep talk, you might say,
You could say, I noticed a dip in team morale after a series of particularly demanding missions. Rather than ignoring it, I held a team meeting where I encouraged open and honest feedback. We discussed the challenges we were facing, brainstormed solutions together, and came up with a plan to rotate responsibilities and implement a more sustainable workload. This open communication and collaborative approach resulted in a noticeable improvement in morale and a renewed sense of teamwork.
that's a great example of proactive leadership
Yeah,
and recognizing the importance of team dynamics.
absolutely.
And it highlights your ability to not just identify the problem, but to take those concrete steps to solve it.
Right.
Listening to you break down these questions is making me realize just how much strategy goes into a successful interview.
Right.
It's not just about knowing the right answers.
Yeah.
It's about showcasing the skills and the mindset that these interviewers are looking for.
You're absolutely right, and that's something that RoleCatcher really emphasizes throughout their resources. They've analyzed thousands of interviews to understand exactly what makes a candidate stand out,
Right.
and they provide that tailored guidance to help you present yourself in the best possible light.
It's like having a career coach and a cheat sheet all roll into one.
It is.
Okay, let's keep this momentum going. Question 6 asks, how would you ensure your team is following proper procedures and protocols?
Okay.
This one feels like it's all about discipline and attention to detail.
You're on the right track. In the military, precision and adherence to protocol is paramount.
Right.
Even a small misstep can have significant consequences.
Right.
When answering this question, you want to emphasize your unwavering commitment to following procedures and your ability to instill that same commitment in your team.
So it's not enough to just say, I'm a stickler for the rules.
Right.
You need to show how you actually uphold those standards within your team.
Exactly. Think about a time when you notice a deviation from protocol or a potential safety hazard.
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you provide additional training? Did you implement a new checklist or system to prevent future errors?
Right.
Did you hold yourself and others accountable for maintaining those standards?
So instead of saying, I would make sure everyone knows the rules,
Yeah.
you'd say,
You might say, during a routine equipment check, I noticed a team member hadn't properly inspected their weapon. Rather than brushing it off, I took the opportunity to reiterate the importance of weapon safety and conducted an impromptu refresher training on proper inspection procedures for the entire team. I also implemented a buddy system for future inspections, ensuring greater accountability and minimizing the risk of oversight.
that shows you're not just enforcing the rules, you're creating a culture of safety and accountability.
Precisely, and it demonstrates your commitment to maintaining those high standards,
Right.
even in those routine tasks. Remember, interviewers are looking for leaders who are proactive,
Right.
not reactive. They want to see that you're constantly striving for excellence and that you instill those values in your team.
It's about leading by example, not just by rank. Okay, getting in the home stretch here with question 7. How do you handle conflicts within your team? Conflict is inevitable in any team,
Yeah.
but especially in these high-pressure environments like the military.
Absolutely, and how you handle those conflicts can make or break a team's success.
Right.
This question is designed to assess your conflict resolution skills,
Okay.
your ability to remain impartial, and your commitment to maintaining team cohesion.
So it's not about taking sides.
Right.
It's about finding a resolution that benefits the team as a whole.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to see that you can navigate those interpersonal conflicts with diplomacy, fairness, and a focus on finding that common ground.
What kind of example would effectively illustrate those qualities?
You could say, during a mission planning session, 2 team members had different opinions on the best course of action. Rather than letting the disagreement escalate, I facilitated a discussion where each member could present their perspective and their concerns. We weighed the pros and cons of each approach, identified areas of agreement, and eventually reached a compromise that incorporated elements of both ideas. This collaborative approach not only led to a more robust plan, but also strengthened the team's sense of unity.
That highlights your ability to listen objectively, mediate fairly,
Right.
and find solutions that benefit everyone involved.
And it demonstrates emotional intelligence,
Right.
which is a valuable leadership trait in any situation, but especially within the military.
Okay, we're down to the final few questions in this deep dive.
Okay.
Next up we have, can you describe a time you had to make a difficult decision under pressure? This one feels heavy.
It is heavy and intentionally so. This question is designed to evaluate your judgment, your ability to think clearly under pressure, and your willingness to take ownership of tough decisions.
It's about more than just making the right decision.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating the thought process
Yeah.
and the courage to lead even when the stakes are high.
Exactly. When answering this question, choose an example that truly tested your decision-making abilities.
Yeah.
Describe the situation, the pressure you were under, the potential consequences of your decision, and ultimately why you chose the path you did.
So instead of saying, I'm good at making tough calls, you'd say,
You could say something like, during a routine patrol, we encountered a group of civilians in a restricted area. We were under strict orders to avoid engagement, but the situation felt uneasy. I had to make a split-second decision, continue on our route as planned, or investigate further, potentially putting my team at risk. I decided to trust my instincts and ordered my team to take a defensive position while I approached the civilians cautiously. It turned out they were lost and disoriented, and we were able to help them without incident. Looking back, I'm grateful I trusted my gut and prioritized the safety of both my team and the civilians, even though it meant deviating from our original orders.
that's a powerful example.
Yeah.
It shows you can make those difficult judgment calls under pressure while still prioritizing the safety and well-being of those around you.
Right.
And it highlights your willingness to take those calculated risks
Yeah.
and trust your instincts when the situation demands it. Okay, 2 more to go. Question 9 asks, how do you ensure your team is properly trained and prepared for missions? This one feels like it goes beyond just running drills.
It absolutely does. Effective training is about more than just physical conditioning and mastering tactical maneuvers.
Right.
It's about fostering a culture of continuous learning,
Okay.
identifying your team's strengths and weaknesses,
Wow.
and tailoring your training approach to address those specific needs.
So it's about being adaptable
Yes.
and responsive to your team's individual and collective needs.
Exactly. When answering this question, think about the different training methods you've utilized or observed. Have you incorporated simulations, role-playing exercises, or after-action reviews to enhance learning? Have you sought out opportunities to cross-train with other units or specialists? Have you encouraged your team to pursue additional certifications or qualifications?
So instead of simply saying, I make sure everyone attends all the required training, you'd say,
Yeah.
expert speaker. You might say, I noticed that some of my team members were struggling with urban warfare tactics. So I took the initiative to organize additional training sessions specifically focused on close quarters combat and room clearing procedures. We utilized a virtual reality simulator to create those realistic scenarios and practice different breaching techniques. This targeted approach not only improved their technical skills, but also boosted their confidence and preparedness for those urban environments. That example demonstrates your proactive approach to training, but also your dedication to making sure your team is well-rounded and prepared for, a variety of challenges.
It also shows that you're paying attention to your team's needs, individually, and that you're willing to go that extra mile to help them excel.
All right, it's about, going above and beyond.
Okay.
The final question on our list for today is about personal growth. How do you handle constructive feedback and criticism?
Okay.
This question feels like it's getting at the heart of being, a good leader. It's not enough to just give orders. You have to be open to learning and growing yourself.
Absolutely. In the military, you're constantly being evaluated.
Right.
And your ability to take that feedback constructively is seen as a sign of strength, not weakness.
Right. So how do you suggest approaching this question in a way that's really going to impress those interviewers?
Honesty is key here. Think back to a time when you received criticism that truly challenged you.
All right.
What was the feedback? How did you initially react? And most importantly, what actions did you take to improve?
So instead of saying, I'm always open to feedback,
Yeah.
you might say.
You could say, early in my career, a superior officer pointed out that I tended to micromanage my team,
Okay.
which was stifling their initiative. I'll admit my initial reaction was defensive, but I took his words to heart and made a conscious effort to delegate more effectively and empower my team to take ownership of their tasks. As a result, they became more confident and independent, and our overall performance improved significantly.
That's a great example of turning constructive criticism into a positive turning point
Right.
in your development as a leader.
Absolutely.
It shows that you're not afraid to acknowledge your weaknesses
Yeah.
and that you are truly committed to personal growth.
Exactly. And that commitment to self-improvement is something that interviewers will definitely appreciate.
Right.
Remember, being an Army Corporal is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There's always more to learn.
Right.
And demonstrating that you embrace that mindset will go a long way.
This whole conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. It's amazing how much goes into, crafting strong interview answers.
Yeah.
It's not just about reciting your experiences. It's about framing them in a way that really showcases, your leadership potential and your understanding of what it truly means to be an Army Corporal. And it sounds like RoleCatcher is just an invaluable resource for anyone navigating this process.
100%. Their resources are really designed to give you that extra edge.
Yeah.
Whether it's providing that tailored feedback on your answers, helping you craft a standout CV or resume, or simply giving you the confidence to walk into that interview room ready to impress.
So for anyone out there listening who's considering a career as an Army Corporal, it sounds like RoleCatcher is an essential tool
It is.
to have in your arsenal. They've done the research, they've analyzed what works, and they're ready to share those insights with you.
They've taken the guesswork out of interview prep
Right?
and provided a roadmap to success.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into acing that Army Corporal interview. We explored those core qualities that interviewers are looking for, tackled some of the toughest questions you might face, and of course, learned how RoleCatcher can help you every step of the way.
Remember, it's not just about getting the job. It's about proving you have what it takes to lead with courage, integrity, and a commitment to excellence.
And with the right preparation and the right tools like those provided by RoleCatcher, there's no doubt in my mind that you can walk into that interview room confident and prepared to showcase your full potential. Good luck out there, and remember, your future as a leader starts now.